everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are doing something a little bit different. Today, I'm going to be going through my top 10 linebackers for the 2021 NFL Draft. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here, and I thought we'd mix it up and do something a little bit different, as I have been focusing all basically of my time of learning about draft prospects. I mean, I'm trying to get ready for this draft thing, you know what I'm talking about? And I'm working on my own draft thing off to the side, which is not done yet, but it's going, you know, it's working. It's a work in progress, but I'm starting to kind of fly through it. So that's happening. I'm trying to learn about the draft. So I thought, you know, why don't we do something a little bit different? Why don't we do a top 10 by a certain position? And one position that I've been focused on a ton recently is the linebacker position as a Lions fan. Now, I want to make it clear, this list is not top 10 linebackers for the Lions. That's not what this is. All right, these linebackers fit different schemes. You know, they can fit different teams. Maybe one linebacker isn't the best for a certain team because of what they do defensively. But it is, in general, to me, just my top 10 linebackers, okay? Now, this is subject to change. It is my 1.0 version. This could literally change tomorrow. But I think, you know, there's some really strong spots on here. Some I'm a little bit more, I'm not really sure about this one. But this could definitely change. We're still very far out from the draft as I continue to learn about more guys, which, you know, I've seen more than just the players that I have on this list, but also as I continue to watch these guys, maybe my opinion changes. I feel pretty confident about where this list is, man. So you can see I'm wearing my fancy shirt. It's time to do something really fancy. Let's get it started. So we're going to start from the front and work our way back. Okay, I'm actually going to, you know, start with the top linebacker, work my way back. I think that some way, in a weird way, kind of adds suspense, because I think the other way can add suspense, but most people know who the top linebackers are, you know, by most people, you know. So again, this is my opinion. I need to throw that out there. This isn't, you know, something I got off somewhere else. This is how I feel about it, okay? So let me know how you guys feel. Let me hear your top 10. But let's get it started. So coming in at number one, the number one linebacker I have for this draft class is a linebacker out of Penn State. You probably knew he was going to be here, and that is Micah Parsons. At 6'3", 245 pounds. Now with Micah Parsons, he may fall a little bit in the draft. Why? Well, because he didn't play last season, but I think mainly because off-the-field concerns. I mean, I don't see a lot of them, but there is that one hazing story about him and a teammate kind of getting into it and a little bit of a fight there, and I guess the coach just said not to say anything. I don't know how true that thing is, but that could potentially move the stock down. I don't know. People will probably talk to him, you know, coaches, things like that, get a feel for how they feel about him personality-wise. But I can tell you just strictly on the field, all right, as a player, to me, he's the best linebacker in this class. I've watched a lot of Micah for a while now, and I keep going back to watch him all the time, and I'm always impressed. I'm always impressed. He's not perfect. He's not a perfect linebacker. I don't think there's a perfect linebacker in this class, but there is a lot to like. First off, he's got elite speed, quickness, sideline to sideline speed. Now, there's a lot of linebackers in this class that have that, but still, at 245 pounds, 6'3", it's pretty impressive what he can do, okay? He can absolutely fly around the field. But probably my favorite thing about Micah Parsons personally is his ability to get after the quarterback as a pass rusher. Why do I like this so much? He's a former defensive end. He has pass rush moves in his arsenal. He does not look lost, you know, when he runs up to an offensive lineman. There are some linebackers in this draft that will, you know, get there, and then when they approach an offensive lineman, they kind of just stand there. They don't really know what to do. You know, it's like, hey, they can get there when they're free, but what about when they're not free? Micah Parsons, he can take on a lineman, and he feels comfortable with making a play against a lineman to get to the quarterback. So I love that about him. I think, of course, being a former defensive lineman definitely helps him out there. He doesn't miss many tackles either. He's got great production while also not missing many tackles, just over 5%. And at the linebacker spot, you usually see tons of missed tackles. You don't see that with Micah Parsons, but he's able to, you know, close the gaps on runners. He's kind of all over the field. You see him make plays in many different areas, except for the passing game. Yeah, he doesn't make a lot of plays here. I mean, he doesn't really have that much production. Doesn't have those interceptions. He has a couple of drops. Doesn't really have, you know, playmaking ability and coverage, at least to this point. But he seems to, you know, usually be in a pretty good position, but he also has the elite athleticism to really help himself out and recover. Here's what I've seen. I've seen this guy is able to get in a pretty solid position. He also has the athletic ability that you would think he could match up in man-to-man coverage. Some guys don't have that, so he wouldn't be completely limited. But you could see him get in some pretty good positions, mainly over the middle in coverage. He just doesn't make the play, all right? He hasn't made the play enough. You know, he hasn't been able to come up with that big play. I saw a perfect example. Running back was, I think it was running back. He was kind of running like an arrow route on the backfield, and he saw it, recognized it, jumped himself right in position to get the pick, and he dropped it, you know? So it's just not able to make plays there. Also, he could improve at shedding blocks. I still think that's something that he could use some work on. Some of the bigger NFL type of offensive linemen in college, you know, he can struggle with a little bit. I think there's a lot of linebackers in this class that had that. A lot of times because they're smaller size. Micah, Obviously, could still improve in that area, but there is no major concerns on the field for me with Micah Parsons. I got him at number 1. That brings me to number 2, and look, these guys, honestly, you could probably interchange them if you wanted to. They're all talented, but at number 2, I have the linebacker out of Tulsa, Zaven Collins. Still Zaven Collins to me, man. I absolutely love this dude out of Tulsa. He was the Defensive Player of the Year, and what do I like about him? Well, I like a lot. First off, his ability to drop into zone coverage. His zone coverage feel is remarkable. It's incredible. He's got 4 interceptions, back that up as well. But being a former quarterback and also being a former safety, I think has helped him for sure. He kind of bulked up with Tulsa, going up to 260 pounds at 6'4". So you got the size at 6'4", 260, but also the feel and coverage. You don't find it a lot. Usually these bigger guys just look slow and out and just completely lost. That's not the case with Zaven Collins. He's really, really nice in zone coverage. Now, because of his size, he doesn't have the most elite athletic traits. I would say that, okay? He doesn't have the top end speed. I think he has, a little bit of underrated closing speed, but I think it's about just being in the right place at the right time, good IQ, awareness to find himself in a good spot where you don't always notice, that he's not the fastest guy, but you'll notice it in open space at times. That is for sure. But for me, I think, okay, maybe some limitations in man-to-man coverage. I think, you get a running back out of the backfield. He could handle that responsibility, very short routes. But for the most part, he's a really nice in zone coverage. Just haven't seen him a lot of man, and that's probably because Tulsa didn't want to put him there. But he's good at a lot of different things, okay? As a run stopper, the guy can explode through the gaps, makes a play in the backfield. He's got tons of made plays in the backfield, so he's really good against the run in that area. Now, he does have some missed tackles, okay? Not as bad as some other guys, but it's about the average range for him personally. Also, sometimes you'd like to see him attack blockers a little bit better instead of just trying to play so finesse. When you're 260 pounds, you want to see him just kind of sometimes just take it on with some power, just take on a blocker with power, fill his gap, and not allow for running lanes to be opened up in those areas. But again, not the best run defender, but still good at it. Him into a defense that's getting after the quarterback because he's very tough to pick up for tight ends and running backs. You put him in a defense that allows him to drop in his own coverage and just use his feel, he's going to have an immediate impact for somebody. I could see him add maybe a little bit more bend as a pass rusher, get a little more flexible there. But for the most part, I like me some Zaven Collins, well-deserved Defensive Player of the Year, and that moves me to the number 3 linebacker. And at number 3, you probably guessed who it is. I mean, you all guessed who it is. It's Pete Werner. No, I'm playing. Hey, you thought though. No, it's not. I'm sorry. I have the linebacker out of Notre Dame. This is Jeremiah Owusu Coramura. Now, Jeremiah Owusu Coramura is a very interesting linebacker. He's very unique. He's not like many other linebackers, and I've considered moving him down on this list because I do have some major concerns, but I also think there's such top-end, high-end playmaking ability that I just wasn't able to move him down. I had to keep him into the top 3. So, Jeremiah Owusu Coramura, what do I like? What do I not like? Okay, well, first off, at 215 pounds, you would expect there to be some speed. Okay, yeah, there's speed, but it's elite speed. It's not good. It's not great. It's elite. Okay, this guy's got sideline to sideline speed. He's super fast. He's got the twitch. He's got the short area speed. He's got the closing speed. It's there. I mean, it's all there. So what you would expect from his size is there and more, which is great. Also, he can line up in the slot. So this last season, he played him a lot at the slot position, and you could trust him in coverage a lot because of his athletic ability. In man-to-man, he can cover a tight end pretty much with ease because he's not worried about getting blown by. He's got the recovery speed. It's honestly more probably just a size thing there. And then in slot, look, if he was a slot cornerback, he wouldn't be the best slot corner. It does give you enough in coverage for you to be able to trust him. As a pass rusher, he can be super dangerous. I mean, I don't think he has the best pass rush moves, but because of how explosive he is, he can just get there in a hurry. I mean, you're talking 2 seconds. If you don't pick this guy up, he can be in the backfield making a play. I think the best play that just demonstrates who he is as a player is his play against Clemson when he intercepted the I don't even know what it was. I don't remember. It was like a toss. He basically intercepted it right from the running back and took it into the end zone. It was absolutely nuts how fast. And that's just the highlight plays. He's a walking highlight reel. But then that brings me to some of my concerns. And there are some major concerns. Okay, obviously the size is one. So I don't think, he's for everybody. You're going to have the right defensive coordinator, the right defense to fit him in there and figure out what you can use him for at the next level. Because he's kind of somewhat of a jack of all trades, kind of a little bit. But here's my major concerns. And it obviously comes with run defense. First off, missed tackles. The guy has a lot of missed tackles. He's actually below average in terms of missed tackles. He misses a lot of tackles, which is already concerning that at the next level that could be an issue as well. To me, it's like tackling power backs. I mean, how is he going to match up against a 260-pound power back at the next level? Could he have issues with that? Shedding blockers. A lot of that has to do because, a little bit of his size and just because he doesn't always have the strength to shed blockers. Way better as a playmaker on the outside when he's free, when he's able to go downhill. He's awesome to watch. I mean, he will absolutely try to level a ball carrier, okay? But It's that, when he gets locked up in the inside, it's difficult for him to shed blocks. He can have issues there, and there's already missed tackle concerns. So there's obviously a concern there for me for sure. He overruns plays at times because he's always just flying around. But I just worry, how much of a all-down impact am I going to get here from Jeremiah Owusu Coramura? Because if I'm taking him extremely early, how much of an all-down impact? I know what he can do as a pass rusher, not dangerous speaking. I know that he can help me in pass coverage. What is his role going to be at the next level? That's kind of the thing, is you're trying to figure out where his role is going to fit. But I do think there's some top-of-the-end playmaking ability that I had to put him in the top 3. I couldn't drop him out of the top 3. You can make a case he could be number 2 on this list. I'm going to put him at number 3, though. But, yeah, I mean, it is subject to change. I'll leave it there. So that moves me to number 4. And at number 4, I have a linebacker coming out of Missouri. You probably know who it is. It's Nick Bolton. Now, Nick Bolton is 6 foot, 232 pounds. Kind of like Jeremiah is not for everybody. Okay, he looks like a 4-3 Mike linebacker, and that's what he's going to be at the next level. And that's where he's going to be at his best. I mean, that's where I would play him. If I needed that, if I need a Mike linebacker, this can be a really nice pick for me for that linebacker position. He plays that role so well. I mean, what that role needs, he plays it so well. Now, he is only 6 foot, 232 pounds. So he is, he can make a case a little kind of small for that role. But, he does exactly what you need of him. He's a downhill player, that's a tone setter. I mean, he wants to level everybody coming across the field. He wants wide receivers to not want to cross the field. I mean, he's all about making big hits. He's super explosive, which can leave linemen just absolutely in the dust if they don't pick him up quick enough. He's got the short area closing speed. I don't think he has the top end speed, necessarily there. I think it's okay, but I don't think it's like, okay, wow, he's super fast. Like, I don't really see that, but he does have some nice little twitch in short area positions. Also in coverage, it's kind of just covering like over the middle, some drag routes, crossing routes, that kind of thing. Not much more than that. I mean, not a lot more than that. But, what you need from that position, he seems to do at a very high level. Some of the questions I have with him, or I guess you could say concerns, he takes on blockers. He kind of has to avoid them a little bit more because of his size. And, he can't really hold up a lineman and fill a gap. So because of that, that can leave running lanes open. But he does a really nice job of kind of shimming through his way to the backfield and making plays. And he's not afraid of contact. It's not that he's afraid of contact. It's just that physically he's not the biggest guy. Wasn't asked, to do a ton in coverage, I guess. And it's not a huge role in coverage. But if you can keep it similar at the NFL level, you expect him to come in and serve a really nice impact right away. And I just love the way he hits, man. Oh, wow. He just wants to lay someone out. But that puts Nick Bolton at number 4. And coming in number 5, I got another linebacker here. You would have never thought. And this linebacker comes out of LSU. Yes, this is Jabril Cox. Okay, so I'm putting Jabril Cox in my top 5. I know it sounds nuts, but seriously, I'm going to do it, okay? I like me some Jabril Cox. Pause on that. I don't know. I feel bad that I have to say pause on his last name, but I do. 6'3", 231 pounds. So he gives you a similar size to Nick Bolton, I guess, in terms of weight. Coming out of North Dakota State, where he was super productive. He goes to LSU, and yeah, he takes maybe a little bit of step back, but he also played in the SEC, so he wanted to get some top-tier comp, which was kind of cool that, he wanted to smoke. He's like, all right, let's do this. Really what he did well, what he was known for coming out of North Dakota State was getting after the quarterback, but mainly coverage. Now, LSU wasn't asked to blitz that much. He really didn't have much production there, but in coverage, that's where he still continued to look his best. He's just so fluid in coverage. I mean, he just looks so natural at that role, and he's also got pretty good size for that role as well. I love about it because you can watch him cover, and he'll also have his eyes on the backfield at the same time. It's like, wow, he looks super smooth there. Will he get beat? Yes, he will get beat at times, but he definitely feels very comfortable in coverage, and you can absolutely rely on him against tight ends, running backs, sometimes, heck, even against slot receivers, where he was tasked to play at times. Against the run, again, not the most physical player. Actually, he's not a very physical player at all, but he finds a way to kind of just, make his body shrink and kind of slip through, get to the backfield, fill those running back lanes and make plays. Not the production. I mean, he's the absolute coverage production that you love. I mean, he's got the interceptions, the passes defended. He's got all that. He's got the versatility. You can put him in man, zone. You can line him up against different players. He's a coverage linebacker. That's what he is, but with some pretty solid size. He's best at stopping the run on the outside, but not as much on the inside, okay? So that kind of brings me to some of my concerns. He's not a power player. Doesn't have much of a punch. It's not going to push back an offensive lineman. That's just not who he is. That's not the kind of player he is. He can get out-muscled in the inside. Against offensive linemen, he can have issues in that. He's not super twitchy to me. I don't think he's very twitchy and very sudden, but I do think he's a very smooth player. I mean, that's kind of what he is. Kind of like Devontae Smith, I say, for a receiver. Smooth player. His edge contain can be hit and miss. Sometimes he can kind of lose that contain, and I've noticed that with a couple of guys. And his run defense angles can be a little off as well, taking the wrong angle there. But, yeah, he's got the experience. He's a coverage linebacker. I mean, that's what he he is. In the NFL today, you need that, right? You got to have a guy like that. But he's also not a liability as a run defender. He's just not someone you want to stick in the inside and have be a run clogger, because he ain't going to do that. With Jabril Cox, as long as you use him correctly and, let him do what he does, and that's mainly coverage, and let him make plays on the outside, I think you're going to get a solid player here. He doesn't have, he's not the super fast, he's not the most twitchy player, but, he does what he does pretty darn well. So that moves me on to number 6. So now we're outside of the top 5. And at number 6, I have a linebacker coming out of North Carolina. And I did not think he would be this high on my list. But you know what? He is. And for now, at least, that is Chaz Surratt, linebacker out of North Carolina, the brother of Sage Surratt. Yeah, I didn't think I would have Chaz Surratt this high on my list. 6'2", 225 pounds, but he is. He ended up being here. So the first thing I like about Surratt, he's a pretty athletic linebacker. I mean, he's not, super fast, but he's pretty athletic, and I guess you kind of expect that for his size. He also kind of cleaned up his tackling. So he was extremely productive in 2019, but in 2020, he had some tackling issues, and he cleaned that up a little bit, which was nice. He didn't see as many for his athleticism. Also in coverage, I love him over the middle, man. He seems to be in a really good spot. He seems to really be next to the receiver. He doesn't seem to be out of position super often in zone coverage over the middle. So I love that about him. We know he is a former quarterback. Maybe that helps him out a little bit, reading a quarterback size, knowing what to expect. But he's only been playing the linebacker spot for like 2 seasons, all right? So he's still learning this. He's still trying to figure it out. So I think that's why you see so many inconsistencies in his game. But I can tell you what, man, just 2019, kind of sold me on this guy. 2020 was honestly a little bit of a step back, but 2020 was a weird season. For me, man, I think there's enough here for me to be sold. I think there's a little bit of development that's going to be needed, but I think there's obviously some talent here. There's a lot of talent here, and I think he could end up being a very high-end player out of this draft as long as he gets the right coaching. But there are going to be inconsistencies, I think, because he's still figuring out the position, but good coaching could be huge for him. He's a willing tackler, but he just needs more power. I think that's the biggest thing, is he needs to add some strength. All right, he played inside linebacker with North Carolina. If that's what he thinks he's going to play at the next level, which is fine, he can, the guy's got to get stronger. Offensive lineman could absolutely take him out of a play. Erase this guy from a play. He wouldn't even be involved anymore. Help him also in consistencies, help him hold up offensive linemen to fill lanes, fill gaps there, because you don't want him just completely taken out of the play, by the line. That's going to be an issue, especially if he's playing inside. He needs more time to continue to play this position and learn it, and I think he's got a lot of potential here. So I do like me some Chaz Surratt. Like him a lot. I kind of sold me on the 2019 film a little bit more, honestly, than the 2020. But the biggest thing in 2020 is he cleaned up some of that tackling, which was a big concern on 19. But he can make a lot of plays. So that moves me down to number 7. And at number 7, I'm going to give you an interesting one here. Probably someone that you haven't heard a lot about. Or I wouldn't even say that. Someone that people haven't put on their list and things like that. This is Jamin Davis. 6'4", 234 pounds out of Kentucky. Jamin Davis, to me, I don't know why he's not getting more talk. I like this dude a lot. Jamin Davis does a lot of things really well. He's overall a really good linebacker to me. Very reliable tackle. Doesn't miss many tackles whatsoever. Super reliable in that. So he's not a liability whatsoever in tackling. He fills gaps really well. He kind of slips through. He can just fly into the backfield. He's very disciplined as a run defender. I see him very disciplined setting the edge. Also disciplined and, not jumping on one thing and then something else happening, like in terms of an option for a quarterback where they'll jump on one and then they'll leave the quarterback free. He doesn't do that. He's very disciplined to kind of stay put, stay home, and make sure that he's in the right position to make the play. He's got pretty good speed. He's pretty athletic. And he's got good size, 235, 6'4". He's got pretty good speed. I think that's all there. I think those traits are there. The way that he drops deep in his zone coverage. Now, he wasn't tasked with doing tons of man-to-man coverage. That's not what they were asked him to do a lot. But they asked him to play in zone coverage. And for me, I saw him drop back 10, 15 yards in the coverage, and he was reliable. He would be in a really good spot, made it difficult for the quarterback to make a pass there. And he also has shown 3 interceptions. Now, they're not the most difficult interceptions, but he can make plays in the passing game. There's a lot to like about this guy. If you ever heard about him, go check him out. But here are some concerns. He was a little bit rotational at Kentucky. He always was a little bit rotational at Kentucky, which is, could scare some teams away. Jamin was a first-time starter last season, so that's kind of what I mean by being a little bit of a rotational player. Also, I'm not saying he's this great playmaker in coverage. He still needs work there, but he doesn't seem lost. Some players seem lost to you and oh, they're not even in the right spot. He doesn't seem lost. To me, I feel like he can, he's can get in the right spot and he can continue to be more of a playmaker. He just hasn't had tons of opportunities. They haven't put him a lot in those situations, and they haven't asked a lot of man coverage, which is a little bit worrisome. You're wondering why that is and if he could do that at the next level. But I still think this guy can play a lot of downs, and I think he can play all 3 downs. And a lot of a pass rushing plan. It seems like, yeah, he's fast enough to get to the quarterback, but if he's stopped by a lineman, he doesn't really do anything. He kind of stands there. It's okay, well, what do I do now? Okay, that's an issue. But honestly, I think there's a lot about his game to like, and I think, he kind of goes under the radar for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because he's someone rotational. But either way, Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, I like him. If the Lions snag him, I'd be happy. Jamin Davis comes in at number 7. So here's what I'm going to go with. So at number 8, I'm going to put the linebacker out of Alabama here. Oh, man, this is tough. I'm going to go with Dylan Moses. Dylan Moses comes in at 6'3", 240 pounds, man. I had this guy actually listed at 10. I'm going to slide him up to number 8, though. I think these are really tough. Don't need to put them in any order. But I'm going to go with Dylan Moses here, honestly, just because of the upside. So Dylan Moses has always been a freaky athlete. In 8th grade, this guy was running 4.45 40s. I mean, he's just always been just ridiculous, right? But he's versatile as a linebacker, so he's played at different spots with this size. His closing speed is absolutely insane. I mean, that's his game. It's about speed. It's about the upside of what you think he could be. I mean, he came in as a 5-star recruit, didn't have, the best college career, had a big injury, came back, didn't look, the best. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some big concerns with this guy, but I'm just kind of going off of the high potential, high ceiling maybe with this one. He's got the athletic ability to play in man-to-man coverage against tight ends, running backs. He's got the speed to do it. He flies through running lanes, can make big plays in the backfield. He's got some pretty good numbers, but like I said, he can close on things. He's actually a good tackler. He's a really good tackler, very reliable tackler. But here's some concerns, man. He's grabby in coverage, very grabby in coverage. I've seen man-to-man. He's got the speed to get there, but he can tell he's not super comfortable with it because he can be very handsy. Also, he's not very much of a lane clogger. I think, he's not going to blow up a play. He's not going to stuff a play. He's not going to be a run stuffer. That's not really what he is. And you kind of wish he was a little bit more of that. Shedding blockers, wow, this could be a very big issue. I mean, this guy can be pushed completely out of play, 5-10 yards back where he just can't really do anything, where he'll get absolutely stuck. So he needs to figure that out. Maybe it's just getting stronger. I really don't know. But he can be out of position very often, and his zone coverage is just kind of a mess. This one is just upside. I mean, I think if he goes super high, I think it's going off of upside, not necessarily the kind of year that he had last season, because I don't think he had that great of a year. But I'm going to put him at number 8, but wow. I mean, this is tough. So I'm going to go with this. So he's at number 8. And that moves to number 9. I'm going to go with Cameron Mcgrone out of Michigan, 6'1", 236 pounds. Now, Mcgrone, look, I like guys that are better in coverage. That's why he's falling a little bit here. He's a downhill player. He's speedy. He's rangy. He's all about making plays in the run game, okay? He is not afraid of contact. He actually, I think, he invites contact. This guy looks to blow up plays. He tries to be that big run clogger. You love his mentality against the run, and he's very disciplined. He had 0 missed tackles last season. Think about that, 0. Now, I know he didn't have tons of tackles. He only had like 17 solo. And it was not a lot of games they played, but he had 0 missed. So it's like, wow, that's really good. But there are some big concerns with this guy. He gets himself in the really wrong spot, picks the wrong hole, issues with that. Hasn't had any playmaking in coverage. I mean, this guy literally has 1 pass deflection in his career with Michigan. Like, that's not good. His length can also sometimes come into question at times. He seems to be impatient, kind of selling out one running lane. It puts him in the wrong spot. So look, I know he's very willing and he's got the right head on his shoulders because he wants to make plays happen, but he can be a little impatient. There's a lot to like in terms of form tackling, things like that. There is like some big concerns as well, and you just haven't seen him utilized very much as a pass coverage guy. So I'm going to put him in at number 9, and that's moving to number 10. I think you could bump him up even if you wanted to. And that's Baron Browning, the linebacker out of Ohio State, 6'4", 240 pounds. Baron Browning, man. Okay, I first started watching, first game I watched, I was like, ooh, yeah, I don't know. But then I kept watching, and Baron Browning just started to become a guy that seemed to just be all over the field, and he just seems to be involved all the time. He's just like, look, hey, I want to be involved, I want to play, and this guy always wants to be involved on every single tackle. He's also position versatile as a linebacker. I've seen him play basically as an edge, which he could be at the next level, and he's got to bounce around all the linebacker spots. He's quick off the edge, very quick off the edge. I think he could improve his bend a little bit, maybe add a little more flexibility there, but he's been tasked with tight ends. They'll line him up one-on-one against the tight end and be like, hey, go for it. Not the best coverage guy. He seems slow. He's more reactionary instead of proactive. He's a little reactionary to kind of what happens, and he's behind on a play. He's looked to get involved. He looks to make plays. His speed is projected to be a 4.56 40, which is insane. He's also got good size. Love all that about him, right? But here's the concerns. There's not a lot of twitch to his game. I don't see a lot of twitch there. Edge contain can be very shaky as well. He bites on play actions. I think it's a lot of the game up here for him. It needs work. It definitely needs work. Covering route combinations, so like multiple route combos and coverage can be an issue, and I think he does react to things kind of slow. But for the most part, man, I think Baron Browning's got a lot of the size and the speed that you want, and he can play a lot of different positions. I think Browning could be like an edge at the next level because of his size, and maybe that's what they try to use him as. That's why I say versatile. So I guess I'll put him at 10. I think 8 through 10 are very interchangeable. You can move those around. So then I'm going to throw my honorable mention out here. I'm going to put it for Monty Rice. Yeah, I'm going to list him as my honorable mention. I consider putting him in many times, kind of like Cameron Mcgrone, 22 of 23 receptions, just wasn't very impactful in that way, but his name of the game is speed. And this is my 1.0 version, so it is subject to change. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.